Hey everybody, this is Robbie, you're watching Geek Level Asian. We're gonna keep talking about Zenkaiger, let's do it. We're on episode, I believe, 4 right now, and we're gonna start it off with an introduction to Vroom, which I don't know how much of an introduction he really needs. He's been in every episode so far, but I guess we'll just stick with that theme because I've been introducing all of the Kikinoids on the Zenkaiger team as they've been introduced. We'll also talk a little bit about things that happened in the episode, the monster, things that I like. You know how it goes, guys. And for all of you Sentai fans who want to help a ranger out, make sure that you like this video so that it gets seen by all of you other Super Sentai fans. So we already knew a lot about Vroom before the show even started, right? We got the character bio, we know he's the curious Kikinoid. Once the show started, he's been in the beginning or end of every episode pretty much. We know that he's a janitor, which we all know now. He's the cleaner bot for the Toji Tendo for the bad guys. But we now know how he got there, especially being not an evil Kikinoid. So we all know that he was the curious Kikinoid, but I didn't know he was so curious that he would subject himself to enslavement, really, to be the cleaner bot for the Toji Tendo on their ship. We learned that his curiosity is what actually led him to the ship, to get on the ship, and then basically just clean for them. So I'm sure you can imagine his curiosity was the plot driver for most of the episode. It is an episode based around him. He's basically Jack Skellington once he gets to Christmas Town. What's this? What's this? There's humans everywhere. When it comes to his look, he's supposed to look kind of like the uniform of Bukenger. After he henshins, he's supposed to look like their combined mecha, the Daibuken. And once he grows into his mecha form, he becomes a big old dump truck. Don't Google that. As we've seen in the previous episodes, it's Vroom who discovers that the Zenkaiger team are liberating all of the captured worlds once they defeat said Monster of the Week. So being the helpful Kikinoid that he thinks he's being, he goes over to Johnny 5 and is like, hey, I don't know if you realize this, but the worlds are being liberated, and since he knows too much, Johnny 5 is like, okay, well, you have to be destroyed. And that's basically when he gets chased off of the ship by, I just realized this in the last episode, the henchmen guys are called Kudaks or Kudeks, whatever you want to call them. We could call them putties for all I care. But they chase him away from the Toji Tendo ship, and that's where he meets the Zenkaiger team. Now, the monster of the week in this episode might be my favorite one so far. He's a boxing monster from Boxingtopia, and his abilities lead to a bunch of funny scenes. Basically, when he's created, all of the human civilians in the city, the town, wherever they live, get boxing gloves, and they're all brainwashed into thinking that they need to fight each other. So I'm sure you can imagine hilarity ensues. A couple at their wedding start fighting, we have nuns, we have senior citizens all fighting throughout the city. Again, mass hysteria. I like how this monster has like a boxing ring on top of his head. It reminds me of that old Rock'em Sock'em Robots game I had when I was a kid. I also had a Ninja Turtles version of that, I think. Just like the mushroom monster, the F word is replaced by boxing in all of his sentences. So 2 of my favorite lines are, I don't boxing think so, and bringing a sword into the ring is against the boxing rules. Part of the conflict and predicament is Johnny 5, Giroud, ends up turning all of the boxing civilians, instead of boxing each other, they're going after Vroom now because he wants to scrap Vroom because, again, he knows too much. So now what's important about all of this is that the Zenkaiger team for the first time start to understand the gravity and the magnitude of their actions in a positive way, and they know now that after they defeat the monsters, they're not just saving the city, they're actually liberating other worlds. Vroom also explains why Earth and Kikatopia have merged. It doesn't really explain it on a scientific sense, but he explains at least what happened. So if you watch my last video, the introduction to Majin and her abilities and powers, I said that I was very curious to see what they're gonna do with that, and they made it really funny in this episode. Like making a banana peel appear with a little pink wizard hat on it. Again, I think that makes her probably the most powerful. She could just make things appear or create illusions. My favorite demonstration of Majin's magic in this episode is she has to distract all the boxers, so she creates all of these, like, I'll call them shadow coaches to give them massages, you know, give them water bottles, basically what you would see in the corner of the ring. Now, Vroom is a Kikinoid, so you have to wonder, like, why does he wear glasses? Can't he just get better parts? But from what I understand, they're like biological mixed with mechanical beings, kind of like Transformers, I guess. But there is a really funny scene where Gaon and Jiron take his glasses off, and he's basically he's Velma. He's Velma from Scooby-Doo. So now once Vroom officially joins the Zenkaiger, they did stick with the running gag of shooting the Kudaks immediately, but they did it the opposite way. They addressed the joke, but they didn't do it the same way, because since he's the curiosity, or the curious Kikinoid, he instead asks, how do you use this thing, which makes sense for his character. So it addresses the joke, and I like that they did that. So quick note on Vroom's abilities. I mean, he is a pretty strong fighter. He seems to be pretty tough, just like, I mean, Jiran and Gown are the same way. I would say Jiran's like the default fighter, then you have Gown, who's more wild. I think Vroom is supposed to be like the strongest from what I saw, but the one attack that was the most interesting was that Vroom's body can split. He can split his torso from his legs. I wonder if they're going to do more with that, or if that's going to be an ongoing attack, or if it was just for this episode. In regard to the Sentai Gears, in this one they use the Die Ranger gears, and basically, I think this is the one where I think the least happened. Well, I mean, you could say that about the Ribbon Dancer things, but they basically get all the red staffs, and they use those to fight. And towards the end of the episode, like in every Super Sentai and Power Rangers episode, after the monster grows big, we get the Mecha. Now, what's interesting about this episode is we got a bunch of different combinations. We get Zenkaiger Juromajin, Vru Gown, Vrumajin, and Jura Gown. So now, at the end of this episode, something interesting happens. Vroom recognizes Kaito's parents' names, who've been missing for 10 years. This kinda speaks to my theory. I don't know if there's a correlation. I was thinking maybe since Kaito's parents are missing, maybe Johnny Five Alive and his other partner in the Toji Tendo lair are actually Kaito's parents made into Kikinoid Toji Tendo bad robot thems. That would be interesting because it reminds me a little bit of Gokaiger, you know, Joe Geepken's sword-swinging senpai daddy. Like, I kind of feel like they might be yes bosses. Or at least they're captured, one or the other. So now that we've been introduced to all of the Kikinoids, who's your favorite? I think mine might be either Jiran or Majin, just because of her abilities. I would love to say that Zenkaiger, that Kaito's my favorite, but he's not. He's definitely not. I don't know. I am super curious to see what they're gonna do for the 6th Ranger. We've already got some leaks on what the shape of this particular character is gonna be, and I gotta say, he looks very much like Gokaio, which I would obviously love. So leave your questions, thoughts, anything you'd like to say down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can follow me on social media. You guys know that I'm on all of them. And that's it, everybody. Be good, and may the power protect you.